Hello, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with a review for Alien Covenant. Don't forget to let David work the holes. This is an interesting film because Alien Covenant, I think, is a phenomenal sequel to Prometheus. The first hour and 20 minutes of this movie is pretty good. It's atmospheric. It gets 40 minutes into the film before any of the horror elements really kick into gear. And you're following a crew of interesting people that actually have characters that are developing and whatnot, that you actually have feelings for, unlike the previous film. Well, the film is answering questions. From the 40-minute mark to the hour and 20-minute mark, you're getting plenty of questions answered from Prometheus that were left open. A movie that I was heavily critical of for not answering any questions that it was developing. And then the movie spirals out of control in the remaining 40 minutes. That is just a frustrating mess. It's a phenomenal sequel to Prometheus, but a terrible Alien movie. And I think that mostly falls on hubris. Ridley Scott tries to outdo James Cameron's Aliens with a lot of the major alien set pieces in this film that are incredibly evocative of aliens specifically, and he just is an inferior filmmaker at making that style of movie. It's just plain and obvious as can be, and I don't know if this came from studio notes or what, but he drowns in his own hubris, which sinks the movie. However, Michael Fassbender's amazing performance really helps to elevate and makes the movie work. I do think this is a good or good-ish movie. Good enough is the way I kind of land with it. There are faults, there are many. When it's an alien movie, it is the most derivative alien movie in the world. There are scenes that are very alien, there are scenes that are very aliens, there are scenes that are very Alien 3. Hell, there are scenes that are even very Alien Resurrection. But nothing of this movie is its own once it becomes an alien movie. And that's pretty much a shame, because the first hour and 20 minutes, you're given new alien or biological monsters to work with that are much more interesting than the new life forms we got in Prometheus that looked like it was trying to be ashamed of being an alien movie. And this becomes a more alien-adjacent movie until you get the Xenomorph that looks much more like the one we are familiar with. David's character journey from Prometheus to this seems consistent and interesting and compelling, and you want to see more. Walter, also played by Michael Fassbender, is a character that is also interesting. You kind of get the Ash and Bishop in these two kind of characters just within the same confines of the same movie, and that was interesting and compelling to me too. Again, it's not going unnoticed that none of this is its own movie. It is hearkening back to previous Alien movies, which leaves you with that burning question of, what are we doing here? I know this movie is constantly asking, or these two movies are constantly asking, where did we come from? Well, the resounding answer is everything that we came from these alien movies, because they have nothing really new or compelling to say. They're asking interesting questions, and this movie even offers interesting answers to those questions through a mythological and lore sense of things, like what happened to the engineers and all that kind of stuff. What was David really trying to do? All that stuff kind of gets addressed in this movie, but it's not doing anything that Ridley Scott didn't do in the commentary for Alien. The thing that I didn't talk about during Prometheus is something that was quite frustrating to me while watching that movie, because I grew up watching the Alien quadrilogy on DVD. Certainly I watched the Alien movies prior to that on VHS, but when the quadrilogy box set came out in like 2004 or whatever, each one had a commentary from director, except for the third one. And Ridley Scott asked multiple questions in that film, like what he would like to do in an Alien movie. He said it was a shame that he never made the sequels, and he was like, what I think would be really interesting is talking about where did we come from, exploring the idea of life, because if we truly are the only beings in the galaxy, the only planet that can contain life that is an accident of trillions, and that's just not something he believes in, and he wanted to explore a movie that would have gone into that territory, and that's what he said that he would have done for a sequel. Well, about 10 years later, he got a chance to do it as a prequel, and all the movie did was ask those same questions he asked on the commentary. And that was frustrating to me because he didn't look for any answers. He just looked to say the questions out loud, which he already did, but in a much more widespread way. This movie does kind of get into that, but it also restates those same questions in different ways. I think it philosophically explores them in a much better way, satisfactorily within the confines of what the two Prometheus movies are. And so I come away from this thinking both of these films are needless and look like they won't be explored further. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Romulus touches them. However, the director has said that this upcoming movie is going to strip away Prometheus and Covenant from the timeline. It's never happened. It's an adjacent timeline, not dissimilar from the AVP movies. I think it would be nice to get one film to kind of wrap up whatever Ridley Scott had planned. However, at the same time, I don't care because he doesn't seem to be good at asking or answering any of the questions he asks. This movie does a much better job of it, but still leaves things open to explore in a sequel that looks like we're never going to get. And that's probably a major problem with how we make movies these days is we're going to leave all these things to explore in another movie. Well, that also takes an awful lot of hubris to recognize that you're not guaranteed sequels. You're just not. People, if they don't want it, won't come. And this is evidence of that. This movie was a huge box office disappointment. And so much so that that's having ramifications for Alien Romulus, where industry expectations are that movie is going to open to sub 20 million. And at least currently, we'll see if that bumps up. But I think that's a big hit to this franchise that I think could explore some interesting things. The questions asked in Prometheus aren't the problem. They're interesting questions. The problem is the failure to answer them. When you make a sequel that does answer these questions, that only works if people go to it, and they didn't, and that's the big issue. But I think Covenant is a much better movie. It's one of my favorite Alien movies, if that means anything. It's just a bad movie when it comes to being an Alien movie. And I will, attack one scene in particular. The scene that, completely made me pull out of the ending of the movie in any meaningful way was the confrontation between the alien and the couple in the shower. Really? We're gonna go there? A shower scene, the most standard horror movie kind of cliche that you get in a Friday the 13th or a Psycho movie. We're gonna do that in Alien now. Come on. That was pretty disappointing. Also, the moment that the chest burster bursts is when this movie stops being good. And I'm talking specifically chest burster. We get a back burster scene, which was kind of unique. But from chest burster onwards, I was done. The movie need not have continued on, in my opinion, after that. It just spirals out of control. The high that it was riding, just completely, the bottom falls out and it drops. That said, that first hour and 20 minutes, which is, on the shorter side, a feature-length movie, is good. Very good. With good characters. I really like Billy Crudup in this movie. I really like Katherine, Waterston? She's really good. I like Danny McBride. This is probably the best I've ever liked him in a movie. There you have that. And who would have thought it would have been in an Alien movie? He's been in much better movies than this. I think that's important to acknowledge. But he's genuinely good in this. So, yeah. I think the last thing I'll leave you with, and just to really nail in this problem that I have, is that Ridley Scott, all he did for his 2 prequels to Alien was recycle ideas that he voiced in the Alien commentary. Prometheus was the voice of asking all these questions that he wanted to explore, yet he failed to actually explore them. He just asked them again in film form. The other thing he talks about is the loss of one of the story elements of his longer version of Alien. The first cut of the movie was apparently 6 hours or something like that, was that these characters were kind of all intercoupling and stuff like that, and there was a sex scene between Ripley and Dallas in Alien that was pulled from the film because it really had no place to it. This film brings back that idea of this is a couple's ship that is looking to spread life to another planet in a habitable form, which is not too dissimilar from Aliens making like a colony of families on LV-426 that the aliens kind of puncture and rip their way through, and that's ultimately what this movie is. It's just a restatement of a core concept slightly utilized in Aliens, but was bred in an idea form in Alien that never just got expanded upon. We expand upon it here, and it is interesting. It is one of the better aspects of the film. So, sure, fair enough to explore it, but it's a film series of prequels that is bred from ideas that have already been stated, and nothing really new has been brought to this franchise yet. And that's just disappointing. I'll come at you in a couple weeks' time with a review for Alien Romulus, a film that I'm very much looking forward to, made by a filmmaker I really quite like, in Fede Alvarez, so we'll see how I respond to that. And then I will give you a full ranking of all the Alien movies on here. Woo! We'll see how that goes. Let me know what you thought of Alien Covenant. A lot of people don't like this movie, and a lot of people like it less than Prometheus, which I find baffling. But I want to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Oh, I forgot to talk about my favorite scene. Sorry, one last thing. The reason to watch this movie is the David Walter scene. The homoerotically charged playing the flute scene is one of the greatest things that I've ever seen. I love it. The first time I saw it, I was like, I saw this movie in opening day in the theater, and when he's like, blow the flute, you just put your mouth over the hole and blow. I'll finger the holes, is what he says, and I was like, wow, this is really homoerotically charged. Revisiting it for the second time, this is the second time I've ever seen this movie. The scene starts with David coming in saying, "If you whistle, I will come," and that just made me go into fits of giggles. I really appreciated that. But that scene is genuinely the best part of the movie. It's really good, and seeing these two robots interact with each other and how they play with each other, and the self-discovery of self-masturbation and all that kind of stuff is really interestingly explored, as the Alien franchise is constantly discussing the nature of sexuality in various ways. This capitalizes on that in one of the better ones. So there you have it. I like Alien Covenant enough, I guess, but it's a terrible Alien movie. It's a great sequel to Prometheus. I give it a very, very light 3 stars. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.